Will Durant once said, "A great civilization is not conquered from without until it has destroyed itself within." Keep that in mind as we dive into what may be the most important issue of our time, the internal collapse of the United States. In the early stages of decline, empires look outward. They blame enemies, rivals, scapegoats. But in the late stage, all eyes turn inward because the rot becomes impossible to ignore. If America in 2025 is being threatened by China or undermined by Russia, it's only because it was first hollowed out by its own political and corporate elite. The empire is collapsing under the weight of its own contradictions. This episode isn't about bombs, wars, or superpower rivalries. It's about your grocery bills, your rent, your paycheck. It's about the hollow core of an economy built on debt, inequality, and a system that no longer serves most of its people. There's only one way to change the trajectory of the United States. That is to start by being honest about where we are. As they say, the truth will set you free. I'm Elizabeth Ann Stewart, and welcome to Geopolitics and Money. Let's dive into how America is collapsing from the inside. Part 1. The American dream is now a paywall. Let's begin with the data. In 1950, over 50% of 30-year-olds in the US were both married and owned a home. Today, that number has plummeted to under 15%. This matters because what happens in the lives of a country's young adults, 30-year-olds, shapes a nation's future. Historically, marriage and homeownership were the foundations of generational wealth and social cohesion. That foundation has now crumbled. Why is this such a problem? Number 1, delayed family formation and community breakdown. Millions are postponing marriage, children, and long-term roots because financial stability is out of reach. Number 2, they're crushed by debt. Student loans now top $1.7 trillion, locking young people into long-term dependency instead of upward mobility. And 3, lack of financial education. Homeownership used to be a reliable path to capital gains. But in today's market, where prices are decoupled from wages, that path is pretty much blocked. Without strong financial literacy, most young people are unequipped to build wealth through other means. Meanwhile, the macroeconomic backdrop is bleak. The US national debt now exceeds $36 trillion, more than 120% of GDP. Annual interest payments are over $875 billion, competing with defense and entitlement spending. And if we include unfunded liabilities like Social Security, Medicare, and federal pensions, the real fiscal burden soars beyond $211 trillion, according to USDebtClock.org. Productivity has grown by over 60% since the 1980s, but median wages, they've barely moved. The gains went to capital, not labor. Ray Dalio said, "When the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, internal conflict follows. That's how empires decline." Part 2. Ray Dalio's Big Cycle and the End of Empire. Ray Dalio's Big Cycle isn't a theory. It's a historical pattern repeated across centuries of empires. It follows predictable stages. Stage number 1, strong leadership, innovation, education, and productive investment drive rapid growth. 2, peak. The empire reaches its height of wealth, power, and global influence. 3, overextension, military expansion, financial speculation, and equality begin to destabilize the system. And 4, decline. Internal conflict, mounting debt, and loss of global trust erode the empire's foundation. Now let's look at the United States through that lens. Stage 1, rise. Post-World War II to the 1970s. America controlled 50% of global GDP in 1945. The dollar became the world's reserve currency. The GI Bill, infrastructure expansion, and innovation fueled an unprecedented boom. Stage 2, the peak, the 1980s to the 2000s. US corporations dominated the globe. Wall Street took over, credit exploded, the strong dollar exported inflation abroad. Stage 3, overextension, the 2000s to the 2010s. The US fought 2 forever wars. The 2008 financial crisis revealed a hollowed-out core. Debt ballooned, inequality surged, and today the top 1% own over 32% of all wealth. And then we're at stage 4, the decline in the 2020s. The national debt is $36 trillion and rising. Unfunded liabilities exceed $211 trillion. Trust in institutions is collapsing for good reason. Cultural divisions are deeper than ever, and the dollar is beginning to lose global dominance, especially in the global south. The US has lost its moral compass and become an oligarchy. It can no longer claim to lead the world. Jeffrey Sachs, an economist, blames endless wars, elites, and the misuse of global institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. Together, he and Dalio offer a clear conclusion. America is not being challenged from the outside, it's actually decaying from within. Part 3. The banking collapse no one talks about. Banking is far too centralized. The more centralized it is, the easier it is to control economies. Professor Richard Werner. Richard Werner is an economist and originator of the term quantitative easing that now gets thrown around so easily. He argues that America's collapse can't be understood without looking at its banking system. Here's how. Number 1, the collapse of local banking. In the 1990s, the US had over 12,000 community banks. Today, fewer than 4,000 remain. This consolidation has killed local lending and handed power to global financial institutions. Number 2, credit creation and asset bubbles. Banks don't just move money, they create it. In the US, credit is disproportionately funneled into speculative assets like real estate and stocks rather than productive investment. The results? Asset bubbles, inequality, and a hollowed out real economy. Number 3, global financial imperialism turning inward. The US dollar was once a tool of global dominance. Now, sanctions and financial overreach are driving countries towards de-dollarization. Werner warns that phantom wealth, which is something we'll talk about a little bit later, it's warned that phantom wealth, which is created by financial engineering, has replaced real productivity, and that illusion can't last forever. Part 4, the generational income caste system. Charles Hugh Smith put it bluntly, we are in an era of systematic failure. Older generations, particularly baby boomers, captured the asset booms in housing stocks and bonds. Younger generations inherited the debt. Boomers bought homes when prices were 3 times annual income. Today, for millennials and Gen Z, homes are 7 to 10 times income. There are no serious political solutions on the table either. Neither party addresses the underlying economic injustice. 2 illusions are often sold to young people. Number 1 is that wages will rise with growth. But the economy has grown for decades, and the wealth gap has only widened. Number 2, boomer wealth will trickle down, and this is a big one, because much of that wealth is phantom, which means it's tied up in overinflated assets, and rising healthcare costs will likely consume much of it before it can even be passed on. Let's take a look at long-term care costs. Assisted living is approximately $75,000 a year. A nursing home is approximately $150,000 a year. And in-home care is approximately $250,000 a year. And according to Pew Research, trust in the US government is now below 20%. Among Gen Z, it's even lower, and with good reason. Check the Epstein files. Part 5. The collapse is personal. This isn't just policy, it's real pain. 60% or more, frankly, of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Rent and food prices are soaring, and the US Surgeon General has declared loneliness a public health crisis. What was once a social fabric, community, purpose, belonging, has been replaced by endless distraction and digital fatigue. America's biggest export used to be hope. Today, it's credit and noise. If there's one thing I want you to take from this video, it's this. Empires don't collapse all at once. They collapse slowly, then suddenly. The data is clear. The institutions are failing. And the myth of American exceptionalism no longer reflects the lived experience of millions of people. But collapse isn't the end. It's a crossroads, a chance, if we take it, to rebuild something more grounded, more just, and more human. History will ask what we did in this moment. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, please share it, talk about it, and let's start making reality more real than the illusion. Bye for now.